Everybody, this is AI with Dr. Craig Hansen, and I'm delighted to have soon-to-be Dr. Beau here with us this morning to talk about STEM, AI, and what he's been doing with his doctorate studies. So good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Fantastic to have you here. Thank you for doing this. Why don't you share a little bit about your journey and how you came to be an amazing STEM educator interested in AI?
Yeah, my education experience has been very unique in itself. I had an elementary education background. I spent 4 years teaching abroad in London. Only meant to be there for one, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because it kind of ties back into just the very unique educational journey that I've had. When I taught in England, I looped the same group of students for 3 consecutive years. And then moving back here to the States in 2012, I did something similar, except I ended up being responsible for a fourth and fifth grade high ability classroom. And that high ability setting really allowed me the flexibility in terms of curriculum development and instructional practices to try a lot of things that most teachers would probably be a little bit afraid to do in their classrooms. And so virtually, everything that I was doing was either technology driven or it was project based, I guess, in the best terms of the fun STEM words that are out there right now. And I absolutely loved it. This led into me transitioning to a role as our elementary math and science specialist here in Indiana, working for our Department of Education for a little while. And over the last 3 years, I've been pursuing my doctorate, and I'm in the Instructional Systems Technology Department at Indiana University here in the States. And last year, probably every single class that I've been in now has had an AI component or an AI driven focus. Um, and it's been really neat to be able to not only see the real life applications of these technologies as they've been evolving in terms of my professional life, but also to hear and to be able to read about some of the amazing research that has been really rolling out at a very steady rate over the last 24 months and stuff. So it's been an incredible journey, and it's very interesting to me from like a professional perspective because I think we're a lot of us in either large corporate settings or in small business settings like where I'm involved. We're not exactly sure what this is going to look like 6 months from now, and so we can be building different platforms to leverage these tools, but we have no idea if those are even going to be relevant, in the very near future anymore. So it's exciting and scary and
Yeah.
a lot of work.
It's a very good point about we try to keep up to date and understand the state of the art and try to apply it to teaching and learning, but things are moving very, very fast. And the way things are changing, platforms are developing, and the capabilities as NVIDIA ramps up their capability of their chips and allows AI and computer systems to do a lot more. I'm wondering right now, what are you seeing in terms of the opportunity for personalization of learning for students?
The world is completely open right now in terms of that, and I think that one of the things that has actually been very exciting in that realm is that not only is the personalization aspect of it very, very exciting, but I think also thinking about the possibilities with the majority of a lot of these language models that are out there having a free version. That means that
Mm,
it's not only going to be open to personalization, but it's also a scenario where the majority of our learners that are out there can utilize one platform or another to tailor their own learning, and that's exciting that it's that equitable in that sense. I know there's terms there's definitely concern for bias and just the equity in using these in certain ways. But I think that the idea of it right now, at least being accessible by so many individuals, is very promising to me as an educator.
Mm. You wrote a LinkedIn article, which is how I found you, regarding AI and using AI to create greater engagement. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think I've always been an educator that maybe until I got into my doctoral program, I never really concerned myself with engagement, other than me bringing high levels of energy into like the classroom. But in terms of AI and its functionality in improving student engagement, I feel like right now there is definitely a wow factor that we could discuss involving this. I don't know if you've come across it in your research or not, but there's this thing called the Gartner hype cycle of technology and education, and it was really interesting to see like where these LLM platforms were kind of residing in that hype cycle. And it's still, definitely on the upswing. It's definitely not, gotten to the plateau point. And I also don't think that we've, touched the surface of what's going to end up becoming all of the main use cases for AI down the road. But it's definitely an exciting prospect right now to consider the amount of use cases these different technologies will afford us in the future.
So let's talk about platforms, different tools that you might be using and that you might recommend and experiences you've had.
Yeah, uh, I think this is one of the interesting ones because you could essentially go bankrupt dropping your $20 subscription into each one of these
Yes.
different platforms, and so it's right now it's almost a case of finding the one that has the most use capabilities for you for your professional capacity or for teaching and learning. And ChatGPT right now, obviously, it's the what I call the Coca-Cola of the language model world at the moment. It had its name out there as the forerunner, and simply because of all of the publicity and the press that it covered, pushing out in late 2022, that's the one that got the most recognition. However, I've kind of started, I guess, compartmentalizing my usage on some of these different platforms. Microsoft Copilot up until recently was a main one for research, simply
Mm,
because of the real world or real time connection with the internet,
mm,
um, being able to provide actual documentation of the resources where it's pulling some of its information from, not just hallucinating there.
mm,
That was exciting. Now, ChatGPT does have that capability built into it now as well, which has been nice. It's not as easy to tempt it to provide you those resources, though, if you will. Um, so those two have been, definitely some of my big time players there. I've also been using Claude a lot recently. A lot of spreadsheet work and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript coding that I've been able to do with that as of late too. The time specifically, I one of my classroom projects, I wanted to create a website to house information in some creative way that we could do to share teaching and learning AI resources with educators. And so I was like, well, let's go ahead and we're going to start and we're actually going to use this to build the website. And 45 minutes later, I had a fully functioning shell of a website where I just had to take the content and input it in there. And so that to me, it saved me probably 3 or 4 days of development,
mm.
and just a lot of troubleshooting. So that was a really nice use case there for Claude as well. um, I've used multiple like presentation development AI tools that are out there. Beautiful AI is one of them that has been a nice one. It's been a nice alternative to like Google Slides, where it didn't take a whole lot of uh, just navigating a new platform or anything like that. It was, somewhat familiar,
Mm,
but it was still intuitive enough where it would develop the slides in a way that I was really looking for, and also added some additional features that slides and PowerPoint didn't have built into it natively until I would say the last month or so. I think is when some of the video features rolled out that I liked that was built into there. Um, I mean, other than that, a lot of the other platforms that are out there have been smaller one-off uses, much more nuanced. I did come across one the other day that I still have to explore a little bit more, but I think it's called Blue GPT. And essentially, this one, I would, I'm thinking the way that this functions is they've taken the APIs from three or four of the larger platforms. I think Gemini, um, ChatGPT, I think it was 3.5. And I don't think it was Anthropic in this one. I think it was Mistral, if I remember correctly. But it allows you under like one subscription to kind of get the best features of all of those different platforms
mm.
out there. And so I'll need to explore that a little bit more and stuff. But what I'm always kind of trying to do is to look out for use cases, not just for myself, but for other individuals in my company. And so we've got, a graphic design team. We have a video team as well. And so, I'll be on the lookout for different tools or platforms that they could use. And then any way that I could, streamline some of the work for our grants division or even content development for some of our STEM and project-based learning units that we have. I'm always, on the lookout for things that could kind of help streamline some of that work.
You mentioned spreadsheets. Are you analyzing data, finding trends, presenting it using some AI tools?
Yeah, sometimes it's maybe even more minimalistic than that, but yes, analyzing the data has been a great use for this. Sometimes it takes a little bit of pushing to get ChatGPT to do it the way that I've wanted to in the past. But other times it's been phenomenal. You actually producing some really well-designed charts and graphs that I can, pull out for visual representation of the data as well. Claude, though, I mean, the when I reference the simple use cases, taking like PDF documents that someone has given me instead of an actual spreadsheet and
Mm,
asking it to pull the data and organize it into a brand new spreadsheet. That in itself was hours time saver
mm.
right there for me. I know that we're just looking at the creation aspect of that, but that's a huge deal when we're talking about time saving for someone too. So yeah.
I can remember spending hours copying data off a PDF, putting it in a spreadsheet, trying to reformat it so it works, put the formulas back in there, and then
Oh
asking
yeah.
Excel or Google Sheets to present it in a way which is interesting.
When I worked for our Department of Ed here, we created what was called our math framework here in Indiana, and essentially we took all of the Indiana academic standards for math from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade to like your calculus 2 course standards, and we separated all of the information into a spreadsheet that was just this massive, enormous spreadsheet that had standard indicators, grade level, standard wording, I can statements, vertical articulation from one grade level to the next, recommendations for students with learning disabilities. I mean, just all of these different pieces of information in the spreadsheet. And if we would have had this back then, I could have just pushed all of the PDF documents in simultaneously and had it disaggregate the information into the individual cells for me. It would have been so much easier. Yeah, I mean,
And
we're talking weeks and weeks I spent on this
right.
thing.
And it's
So
surprising that departments of education or ministries of education just don't have that already to say, this is our system and how it works.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's sad and kind of scary that they're the ones that are telling people how and what to teach as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, look, just as we wrap up, someone's going to ask, is that a Rubik's Cube and what's on top of it?
Yes, that is a Rubik's Cube back there. When I was teaching, I had probably 35 different Rubik's Cubes that were in my classroom. And I would do a Rubik's Cube unit every year. And this was actually really neat. This was my way of introducing my students to algorithms. And so probably 3 weeks ago, I went to pick my son up from a hackathon at the high school here in the area, and I bumped into one of my former students, and he's now I think he's going to be a junior, but he's going to be pursuing machine learning when he goes to college
Wow.
after he graduates. And I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool that it translated into something tangible like that. So that was really neat. Yeah. And then on top of it's my 3D printer back here. And I was just mentioning to you earlier, I'm gonna probably have to get that guy fired up here this afternoon for my son. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, if people want
Yeah.
to get hold of you, reach out to you, what's the best way to do that, Bo?
Probably email, I guess, is probably the easiest way to do it. So my email address is Beau, Beau, at eesinnovation.com. So EES and then innovation.
Or one
Yeah.
word?
All one word. Yep.
Great. Well, I'll have your LinkedIn profile link as well with the show notes on YouTube and LinkedIn and wherever it is. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Craig. Appreciate it.